Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. I take it most people listening are tuning in right after the Vikings win over the Colts on Sunday Night Football. Hope you enjoyed watching. I certainly did. Figured it'd be nice to finish it off with a little nightcap tonight, Ziggy. We're going with Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. Is that pronunciation correct? I don't know. But I don't really care because the Vikings won, moving to 6-2 on the season. It's ugly. It was disgusting. But
I'm sorry. Did you say you had fun watching that game?
I like winning, Ziggy. I like winning. And frankly, the Vikings don't do a lot of it. So this year, 6-2, enjoying every win. I'm trying to be more optimistic. People want that out of me. I'm trying to be a better person, better Paul. And a 21-13 win, Sunday Night Football, a game to go to 6-2, reclaim second place in the division. I'll drink to that, my friend. I'll drink to that. Not bad. Okay, so let's talk about here. 21-13, the Vikings win over the Colts. Joe Flacco started in place of Anthony Richardson in this game. It was, despite the win, Ziggy's right. It was a tough watch for Vikings fans most of the way through. Tough watch for Colts fans most of the way through. Just not a very enjoyable game throughout most of it. Sam Darnold, we'll start here. Pretty bad. Pretty bad tonight. I think Sam, for the most part this season, has played really good football. And over the past few weeks, we've started to see some of the concerns that people have with him as an NFL quarterback. The turnovers are going up a bit. Some really bad sacks, untimely sacks that just kill drives and sometimes take us out of field goal range. We're not seeing the efficient Sam Darnold we saw in the beginning of the season, but he's still playing overall, I would say, better than most people expected. Even the Sam we saw tonight, a couple big time throws, and when they needed it, he showed up. So I'm not gonna get too hard on Sam Darnold here because we know what we signed up for. There's gonna be highs and lows. Overall, though, I'm okay with it. Ziggy, are you? I know some Vikings fans are just done with them. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction, personally.
I'm not done with him, but I think I'm more concerned about this performance than you are. I think it's easy to tune in and say 82% completion percentage, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was able to get it done. But I think one thing, you mentioned the sacks, and I think a lot of fans who watch the game sort of underweigh how important sacks are. In some of the circumstances where Darnold took a sack, it was basically equivalent to an interception. Right, it takes you out of field goal range. It forces you to punt. Like, sacks are almost as bad as turnovers in a lot of situations. And I know that our interior offensive line didn't help Sam Darnold one bit. But between the interceptions and the sacks and how we've seen him perform over the past couple of weeks, I'm starting to get nervous that Sam Darnold is losing some of that confidence he came in over the season, that teams are starting to get better at adjusting and dealing with him. And that Sam Darnold has played his best football with Minnesota already. Because it's 2 tough weeks back-to-back. Against this Colts defense is not terrible, but they should not be presenting the kind of challenge they did to Sam Darnold.
No, you're 100% right. And
Same with the Rams defense.
Same with the Rams. No, you're right about that as well. And DeForest Buckner, coming back, that was a big. You mentioned that in the preview show. He was a wrecking ball for a lot of this game. But I do think that Sam, in some big-time moments, made some big-time throws. Justin Jefferson is just unbelievable. Like, we really have to appreciate what we're watching with JJ right now. I think Vikings fans have been very lucky that we've had Jefferson, we've had Peterson, go back, you had Moss. Most franchises don't get players like this, it's like at all, like, let alone back-to-back the way they have. Or at least in very short durations without them. So I think that just watching Justin Jefferson night in and night out is such a treat. He's one of the best football players I've ever seen. And every time you throw to him, he makes the extraordinary catches look ordinary. I just tweeted out at some point, I don't know if you saw it, Ziggy, I love Justin Jefferson. Just a super fun player to watch. And the defense kind of came back tonight a little bit. There were still some guys wide open in the middle of the field. In the beginning of the game, we weren't really getting pressure. And I was just going, oh, geez, like the Colts, really? Like Joe Flacco, can we please get someone there? But as the game wore on, they did uptick the pressure a little bit. A couple, they got some turnovers, some very timely turnovers. And this isn't a game. This is not a game we're going to write home about. It was just an ugly win on Sunday Night Football. And we have to hope that next week we come out and look a lot better than this. But 6-2 is no record to joke about. So.
Oh, yeah, no, to put what the defense did in perspective, they did not give up any points to the Colts offense until late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I know the Colts, they got 7 points off that Kenny Moore defensive touchdown, but otherwise they went 0 points, 0 points, 0 points, 6 points. The defense absolutely did their job. And I know it's Joe Flacco and a Colts offense that's been up and down, but between A.D. Mitchell, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Jonathan Taylor, like there is talent on this Colts offense. Michael Pittman wasn't able to do anything this game. Like there are guys that can produce, and Joe Flacco has shown that in this offense, he can be effective. The Vikings defense is what won the team this game without question.
I don't know if you felt this way, Ziggy, but the entire way through, I just had this calm feeling that we were going to win. And I've had those before as a Viking fan. And sometimes, you carry that to the very end of the game and something terrible happens. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, did we just lose? And tonight I kind of had that feeling of even when things were looking bad in the first half, it was 7-0 at halftime. I still felt that we were the better team most of the night. Even when we took the lead to go up 14-7, it felt like we were kicking the Colts' ass, and it just wasn't reflective on the scoreboard at the time. So I don't know. I think the Vikings actually, for the most part, played pretty good football. They couldn't convert those early possessions into touchdowns. Otherwise, the score looks a lot different than 21-13. So again, as I said, not a game to write home about, but a win's a win, especially coming off 2 pretty disappointing losses. The Vikings didn't get blown out by the Lions or the Rams, but they were convincingly defeated by each of them. So just to come back and get on the winning track again and try and get the ship right. Like they are only a game behind Detroit. That's kind of something that feels weird with how Detroit's been this juggernaut recently, but they're only a game back and weird things happen in the NFL. So I'm trying to be more optimistic, and I think I'm doing a good job.
And hey, this was the best Vikings second half all season.
Yeah.
That's why I was so worried going into halftime. This team, I did not have that calm feeling. I felt like the sky was falling. I was ready. I call you at halftime. I said, I'm done watching.
You said I'm done. You were like, I'm
done
over
with the
this.
Paul Farrington show. I'm never watching a game again after Will Reichard missed that field goal. But
I know, right?
The way it's been for the Vikings all season has been they get off to a big lead in the first half, and then they struggle to make adjustments in the second half, but they sort of barely skate by. And as we saw against the Rams and against the Lions, against teams that can put together competent second halves or challenge them in the first half, that has not always been a successful formula. This game, despite going scoreless in the first half, and I don't want to put it all on the offense. There's plenty of blame to go around on Reichert too and the rest.
Yeah, but
they
he
showed
had
up.
the
They had a
injury going.
strong start to the third quarter. They finished it off, getting a touchdown to put away the game in the fourth quarter when they needed it. It was enough.
Well, that was something
showed
too when they got the ball back at the end of the game. Remember when we played Detroit specifically, the Vikings had a chance to ice that on offense. They went 3 and out. We got the ball back with 5 or 6 minutes left. A lot of times it feels as a Vikings fan that's the situation where we give the ball back without A, scoring, or B, running off much clock. This was a really nice drive going down the field. Aaron Jones is so important to this offense. I was talking about that with my family while we were watching the game. Like, even though he had 21 carries for 64 yards, just him being on the field presents such a bigger threat than any of the other running backs on this team. And Cam Akers had a couple really big runs tonight. Cam Akers played well. But Aaron Jones, when that whole unit's there, and I can't wait to see TJ Hawkinson get slowly adjust to real game speed, because when he's playing, I think you saw it tonight, in glimpses, he's very effective, huge on third downs all the time for Kirk Cousins over the years, just dumping it off to him right at the sticks to move the chain. So I'm excited to see how this offense goes when they're fully functioning. And tonight was, I think, the first game with JJ McCarthy on the sideline that we won. I don't know if you noticed that, Ziggy. But since he's been back, we haven't won a football game till tonight.
So it turns out he's not a curse after all.
It turns out he's not a curse. Dude, I'll tell you, the Lions fans who are in our comment section right now after our Lion Packer reaction, and if you want, you could go check that out. I don't understand how they all think the curse is broken, Ziggy. Like if there was a curse on the Lions, wouldn't breaking the curse be winning the Super Bowl? Like they seem very convinced that going to the NFC Championship game broke the curse.
No. It's a different kind of curse. Our curse is to look really good and then let you down at the worst moment. Their curse is to be an abysmal franchise that can never win a game. And maybe that curse is certainly broken, right? Over the past bunch of seasons, like the past couple of seasons, since Jared Goff has come, since those first horrible 10 games, they've been very good at winning football games. They made it to the conference championship. They played a close game. Like the curse of being awful is broken for the Lions, and they don't have a get close and shut it down curse.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe look, after they lost the way they did to the 49ers, I feel like, I don't know. To me, that's kind of the curse showing up at the time you might expect it to. So we'll see. We'll see what winds up happening with Detroit. I think they're being a little premature, and the curse is broken after what, like 450 days of success in the history of their program. So
well, Lions fans just get upset with us anytime we say anything that's not, this is the best team in the history of football.
I think they're very good. I mean, we're pretty big Lions guys.
No, but I think I keep putting them number one in my power rankings. I keep saying they're the best team in football, and all I get is Ziggy's a hater. He hates the Lions.
Yeah, you are. Well, that might be my bad for calling you a hater.
But it's
on the
okay.
Show.
We'll see how this goes. I'm optimistic. The Vikings head to Detroit week 18. I am optimistic with the Vikings winning this Colts game. There could be something interesting to play for there. You know, the Vikings have a few more winnable games coming up. We go to Jacksonville. We go to Tennessee. We go to Chicago. We host the Cardinals. We host the Falcons. We host the Bears. We go to Seattle. Then it's just the Packers and the Lions. So there's a lot of winnable games left for the Vikings compared to the other NFC North teams. I think we have by far the easiest remaining schedule. So the Vikings, if they can keep playing complete games, which they didn't here, if Sam Darnold can regain some of that form, which he started to show he could, if Justin Jefferson can continue to just be a one-man offensive show, this Vikings team is in it to win the division. We are not out of it.
Well, you said
that's why I feel like they're going to let me down.
Right before we started, you said that's why we went and traded for Cam Robinson. It's because this team believes that they can win, and the NFC is kind of weird this year. Where, yeah, the Lions are very, very good, but after them, I think people are starting to believe in Philly, but they obviously have some flaws of their own. The 49ers are all banged up, and the Packers, Jordan Love's still injured, and the Vikings already beat them. So if you look at the NFC as a whole, I'm really happy that Kwesi decided to be aggressive and go and fill a need at left tackle. And yeah, with that schedule, I got a text from my friend Ryan during the game that just said this team is such classic Vikings in that they're winning games, but are they good? Probably not. And I kind of pushed back a little bit. In the first 5 weeks, this team was legitimately awesome. Just really, really good. Maybe 3.5 weeks up until the halftime of the Packers game. And then for a little bit of the Jets in week 5. But this Vikings team was playing great football on both sides of the ball. So my hope is, if it's sort of the way I'm approaching the Packers, if you can just keep winning games, try and reclaim the way you were playing earlier in the season, because it's ups and downs. It's a long season. You're going to have hot streaks. You're going to get cold. But if you're able to win when you're cold, then that sets you up to be in a really good position when you get hot again. If you're a 1 seed or a 2 seed or hosting a playoff game, wherever it might be, you get the high wild card. You get to go to Atlanta, who you'd much rather go to then maybe you'd go to Washington, but as opposed to going to Detroit or maybe San Francisco, who knows who it is. So I'm choosing optimism tonight. Choosing optimism.
Yeah, I think there's decent grounds for optimism. I'm optimistic too that the Vikings will continue to improve. I think it's really good. The Vikings, I think, will be a big beneficiary of the trade deadline getting moved back a week or two this year, because it means that they'll have a little bit more time to assess the situation. Teams that are bad will have a little bit more time to lose, and more guys will be available on the market. I'll say this, I think the Cam Robinson addition was really shrewd. I know he historically has just owned the Colts, but you got to see tonight, like he was a major player out there, despite him only being on the team for like 3 days before he was thrown in and starting. We've got to get somebody on the interior. This interior offensive line, it's not going to be possible to make a playoff run with the way this interior is playing. And I know the Colts interior is one of the best in football. I know DeForest Buckner doesn't get enough credit. No one on that Colts defensive line really does. But it has to be better. Every week, teams are just circling saying, hey, Garrett Bradbury. Hey, Ed Ingram.
Mr.
Hey,
Reliable.
whoever else. We're just going to send a guy at you. He's going to knock you over, and we're going to sack Sam Darnold.
Well, I mean, the play when Sam fumbled, the Bradbury just got knocked in. And I'm not trying to hate on Garrett Bradbury or any of the interior guys. It's just those are the kind of plays that do cost you in big moments. Like when we take if we're in the playoffs, okay, and we take a 10-yard sack to move out of field goal range in the second quarter of a game, all of a sudden it's the fourth quarter, you're down by 9 instead of 6, and it's over. Like those kind of things in the playoffs are magnified. And a lot of people talked about that with the Yankees actually this year. Because the Yankees fielding and base running was kind of an issue during the season, but during the regular season, especially when you're winning, those things can be masked. And then in the playoffs, in the World Series specifically, all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, like we got a real problem here, and it costs you a game or it costs you 2 games. For the Vikings, that could be that interior offensive line. Like we know it's a problem, but when we're in the playoffs and our backs are against the wall in a must-win situation, that's when you're going to go, oh shit, I wish we had fixed that earlier. So I totally agree with you that if they do want to address it, I don't think they will. I think this is the unit they're going to ride with. But that is something that we can look back on at the end of the year and say, hey, should that have been addressed? Because it should have been years ago.
We'll see how this goes. I think Andres Pete out of Las Vegas. I always want to say
New Orleans,
Oakland for the Raiders, but I think he's a real trade deadline target to be going after. Big guard. The Raiders are looking to trade guys. He should be cheap to get. I don't know. The trade deadline's in a couple of days. We'll have some clarity. And I think you're right. The Vikings probably won't make a move. But on the other hand, I mean, JJ McCarthy's probably going to be starting next year. This could be the Vikings' best opportunity to go and try and make some kind of a run for a year or two. And if you're giving up a late round pick to bring in a guard, I mean, it worked with Cam Robinson. I think it could work again here.
As far as the Colts go, Ziggy, real quick, just for like a minute or two here, I still am going to stand by. I think they should have played Anthony Richardson. Do you think they go back to him sooner? Like if they drop another couple games here, do you go back to AR and just start letting him work out the kinks?
I feel like Anthony Richardson was benched for locker room reasons. I feel like there were a lot of people who were angry in that locker room, who were frustrated, who feel like this is, they're in a contract year. It's their time to win or whatever. And it's true that trotting him out doesn't give you the best chance to win. On the other hand, today, Joe Flacco really didn't look all that much better.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as Joe Flacco had a better completion percentage, he was 16 for 27. He threw that interception. There were a couple of times where he took sacks where you just know, like there was one time on 3rd down. It's like 3rd and 9. Joe Flacco walks up in the pocket. He starts running and he's just immediately blown up. Anthony Richardson would have gotten the first down there. Right. So I think that it's going to take a few more games, but the Colts don't have an easy stretch of games coming up. They host Buffalo. They go to New York where the Texans just lost to play the Jets. They host the Lions. Those are their next 3. They drop down to 4-8.
Like what's the point of playing Anthony Richardson
in? Because then people can't complain anymore. You can't say we want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think personally, I think that the decision was to just keep letting him play. But if he needs, if he needs to learn a little bit, I guess you can let him learn while Joe gets beat up against the Vikings, Bills, Jets, and Lions, and then
put him back for the Patriots, Broncos, Titans, Giants, and Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense right there if that's the plan. But yeah, Indianapolis, they had some chances this season where if a few games had gone in their favor, then maybe you're like, especially the Texans games, if they'd won one of those, maybe we're talking about them sneaking in at some point. But given that they lost both Houston games and that they have those tough 3 games coming up, I think you're going to see them at 4-8 or 5-7. And I guess they could have a chance at a run given the final 5 games. But this is not a team that's going to make any noise. Unfortunately, our friend Tommy Cassius is a big Colts fan, and he was.
And I like the Colts.
Oh, I like the Colts.
They might be my favorite team in the AFC.
Yeah, I enjoy rooting for them as 2 Indiana guys ourselves, Ziggy.
Colts forged.
Tommy was texting you like that after the fumble recovery and or the interception. That Darnold interception in the first quarter. was one of the worst. Like he had a few throws tonight. Again, you said what? High completion percentage, maybe 6 incompletions, but
yeah,
a couple of the picks are just like, how do you miss those guys?
Interception, it's unclear who he was throwing the ball to other than Colts defenders.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what was going on. So long story short, we need better Sam Darnold to beat the good teams. And I'm not ruling out the possibility that he could get there. It's just going to take in the beginning of the year, I thought, oh, he might just be awesome all year long. Now it's like Sam should be good enough to beat the bad teams, but we're going to need him to take it up a level to beat the good ones. And there's a world that happens. So, all right, Vikings win. Nice to say that for the first time in like 3 weeks. So that was
first
fun
time
to say.
Since October. What? The last time they won was October 6th, right?
Yeah,
against
in like a month.
Jets.
Yeah, basically a month. So it's been a month since we've said Vikings win. 6-2, not too bad. Packers lose, and
not a bad day for us.
Not too bad. So, all right, Ziggy, thanks for hopping on late, and we'll be back with a longer Week 9 reaction tomorrow. See you.